All right, we are now live. I don't believe there's anybody online as of yet, and that's fine. We will get to that. What we will do, however, is we're going to start talking about some pre-planned things while we're waiting for people to come online. My apologies. We actually got online just a little bit later today than I had intended, and yeah, that's my fault. It snowed, and I wasn't really ready for that. So we had to clean off the car before I could get out here. Now, today, let's start with following up on the Jim Bakker lawsuit. And as anybody logs in, you have questions, feel free to just, ask them. And we will steer away from things and answer questions as they come up. Let me turn the sound on this thing off, though, first. There we go. Maybe not. Okay. So when we're talking about the lawsuit that the state filed against Jim Bakker, one of the things you have to understand is the first thing they're looking at is an injunction, an injunctive release. They want to say, stop, you're not going to do this anymore. Morning, Dennis. How you doing today? And that is a key thing. Okay, injunctive relief is not punitive yet. Now, they are going to get to punitive measures, and they did ask for $1,000 for every one of those silver saws that they sold to, I guess, for lack of a better way to phrase it, the suckers that bought it. Now, this isn't to say that silver solution, Clado silver, doesn't have positive effects. There's a lot of research that it does. There's a lot of research that, silver is a natural antibiotic. Or not antibiotic. I just totally spaced the word. Wow, that sucks. Anyway, silver is a natural repellent for bacteria, antibacterial. Yes. So that is a positive. However, it is not a cure for HIV, SARS, or for COVID-19. There are no cures for COVID-19 yet. Let me adjust this a little bit. There we go. There are no cures for COVID-19 as of yet. We're working on it. We don't have any cures. The state's going to win that lawsuit handling. If there are any direct questions, we will go ahead and answer them. Feel free to ask what you like. When we turn to COVID-19, we talk about how the state is handling that. Oh my God. Universities all over the state are canceling in-person classes. Here in Kirksville, Truman University is canceled in-person classes. They're telling all the professors they have to go to an online education system for the rest of the semester, which is good unless you also have a class that has to have a lab, like chemistry or biology or astronomy, molecular biology, or any of the lab classes are going to be a problem. They're much more difficult to teach online. But I think we're overreacting. We're going too far too early. And I know the idea and the popular thing that's come out since, the article about flattening the curve has come out. But we're taking what would be a spike and we're turning it into a year-long enterprise. That year-long enterprise is going to impact our society on levels other than illness. We are going to get hit for economic damages. People aren't going to go to work. People are going to be staying home. I got news for you. When you kick all the kids out of school, moms and dads aren't going to be able to go to work. We have two-income families now. Someone's going to have to stay home with the kiddos. That means there's an employee not going to work. That family's lost half their income or however much that parent contributed. They're not going to have the same purchasing power. They're not going to pay all their bills. The business is losing the employee that they had or thought they had. and society is just going to start hitting a tailspin. You're going to have fewer products on the shelves, fewer people who will pay for it, and we're going to go into an actual, real, God's honest depression. Now, that's where the threat for this illness is. It is not from people getting sick and dying. People get sick and die all the time. It's not a nice thing to say. It's not a polite thing to say. It's rather cold, and people are going to get offended by it. But this illness has a 15% fatality rate for people over 80 that have other illnesses. I would think that people over 80 have a 15% fatality rate from waking up. I'm sorry, but that's the age group, and that's the reality of it, is as you get older, you have a higher likelihood of dying from other things. God bless anybody that made it that far. I'm happy for them, and I hope they keep going. But the threats legally that are going to happen from COVID-19, they're going to start instituting quarantines. There'll be soft quarantines at first. There'll be suggested quarantines. There will be, you should stay home and not go to this. They're going to outlaw groups over X size. They're going to claim it's for public health reasons. But really, why is the line 100 or 1,000? No groups over 1,000? Because you have a greater chance of passing an illness between people and there are 1,000 strangers in a room, or 100 people in a room. It doesn't make any sense. Unless you remember that we're coming into an election season, and the government is doing things right now that you're not going to approve of. And when people don't approve of what their government does, they usually get together and they say, hey, we want you to stop this. Emergency powers, emergency health powers, give the government a lot of power. It gives the government a lot of authority and power. And that's a huge threat to you. So what's going to happen? Well, we have seen, speculation is horrible because you get into bad things. But we have seen situations where the government has taken firearms from people. Let's look at Katrina. They went and they stole firearms from people. They didn't help them get out of frickin' New Orleans. They took their guns and then left them there to die. Why do you think it's going to be any different with this? You have an illness. You have people that are going to have things that they're going to have to defend. Whether you like it or not, if you have a storeroom full of beans, rice, apparently toilet paper. I didn't realize that shit was made out of gold. But beans, rice, toilet paper, masks, and etc., you're going to be a target for somebody. I mean, if it breaks down that far, you will be a target. If the government decides they're going to take away your firearms at that point, you have a problem. Now, a lot of my audience is very interested in medical marijuana. We've talked about the laws of medical marijuana and gun ownership and gun possession in Missouri. You could see those enacted under the idea of it's an emergency. So more so than anywhere else, for love of God, keep quiet about it. If you're going to plant marijuana because you have a cultivation card, do it. And keep quiet about it. While you're at it, hell, we've got such an influx of farmers over the last 6 to 8 months. I'd like to see people planting tomatoes and other things too, because that's what we need. Coming into spring and summer, with the illness going around, how about a resurgence in Victory Gardens? Start planting gardens. You can't live on weed alone, guys. So those are the issues that you're facing with COVID-19. I really don't think it's the illness. The illness has a very low fatality rate, and it's going to hit mainly elderly. If you are elderly, if you are older, and you have other health problems, say you're a 50-year-old, almost 50-year-old, balding fat guy, you probably don't want to go and push your luck. Now, if you've got diabetes, you got something else, then hey, you also might not want to go push your luck. Stay home, stay safe. Hell, every grocery store in the area delivers now. So you don't even have to go out for your groceries. But if you're not in one of those danger zones, do you have to stay home and avoid all contact with other people? God, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be that bad. You know, one of the concerns is that we have about 1 million hospital beds in our country. And that's a fact. We know that. At any given time, approximately 68% of those hospital beds are filled with ordinary, health issues, leaving us about 320,000 hospital beds nationwide. Now, if we activate all of our surge capacity, we could probably come up with about 700,000 hospital beds on top of the 680,000 are currently in use. The predictions are that we're going to have more than 1 million people infected with COVID-19 by April 3rd. And they're not all going to need a hospital bed. If 10% need a hospital bed, that's 10,000 hospital beds that they're going to need. And we have 320,000 and surge capacity. Now, if they're all in one area, if they're in a hot spot like Washington, then you're going to see local areas of swampage. Is that a word, swampage? You'll see local areas where the hospitals and emergency situations are going to be overwhelmed. When that happens, people are going to start being shuttled out to other areas. They'll be moved over to the next hospital, then the next hospital. It's a cascade effect, and it's one of the biggest fears the medical provider establishment has. With that cascade effect, they start running out of supplies. They start running out of the ability to care for people, and next thing you know, they're back to 1900 for their medical care capabilities. Instead of having people in nice air-conditioned rooms, they have nurses going by with a bucket of water, mopping the forehead every now and then. It's a completely different environment for care, and more people will be worse off under that situation than they would with proper medical care. So it's a touch and go thing. Do I think we're going to get to that kind of cascade effect? I don't know. And the issue with that cascade is if we get to that and we go there, then you're going to see a spreading and systemic failures. Think about electrical outages. You'll have brownouts. When you look at the power outages, and if you watch a space photo as we lose power at night, you lose power in this section, then this section, then this section, then the entire eastern seaboard went black. That's the kind of thing you'll have with hospitals. It'll be slower. And you're going to start seeing some pretty fracking unconstitutional orders that places are going to be implementing because they think they need to. And the reality is at that time, you're not going to win that argument in court. If the city institutes a curfew because of health reasons, yeah, you can take it to court. You're probably going to lose. Then you can file your appeal. And when you get before the Court of Appeals in a year, or the Supreme Court in a year, you might win. But the net result will be you'll have been kept off the streets legally. So when the cascade failures start to happen, and they will, probably in a more rural area where they don't have as many beds. And here I am. I've got sniffles, a little bit of a cough because my sinuses are running like it's freaking marathon. I don't know if you caught the weather, but it snowed this morning. It snowed. We just had 70 degrees a couple days ago. Man, Missouri is crazy. So legally, The powers that be, government has a lot more power when they declare a state of emergency. They can do things like forcibly move you. They can do things like lock your ass up. That can be done. It can be done without court orders. It can be done with court orders. Hell, the court might just issue a standing order. If somebody refuses to do X, you just throw them in jail, move them, and release them, 2 days later. That happens. Can you fight it? Yes. Are you going to be successful at it that night? No, you're not. So it's something to pay attention to and be aware of. Watch your community and see where things are going. Here in Kirksville, we're pretty laid back. We've got a hospital, we've got a medical school, we've got Truman University, and they're overreacting like you wouldn't believe. There's no COVID-19 anywhere around us, but we're shutting everything down, man. The Chamber of Commerce canceled its board meeting. We canceled our board meeting. Truman has shut down the dorms. Kids aren't coming back to the dorms. Okay, that's fine. Things have been delivered online. That's fine. But that has an economic impact on the community. That economic impact is going to affect all of the small businesses in this area. And it's not just going to be Kirksville. It's going to happen in Columbia with MU. It's going to happen in Springfield with Missouri State. It's going to happen with all of the smaller universities throughout the state. So, be ready for that. And then all those people are going to have something to do. If they shut down the elementary, middle school, and high schools, if we get to the point where they shut down the schools, we're done. That's all I can say is we're done. You're going to see a major depression. People are staying home, and we're going to have some serious problems. That is going to present some real issues for us going forward. I hope we don't get to that point, but it is possible. Now, let's turn a little bit from the fun and exciting news of COVID-19, and let's talk a little bit about Missouri state legislation. Because Missouri, the wonderful, wonderful people that run our state government, our state Senate, has decided in their infinite wisdom, they passed a ban on marijuana-infused candy. Now, this has not been passed into law yet, but this is also the second year in a row that they've tried to do this, and they've made progress on this. So it's likely going to happen at some point if it doesn't make it through now. It's Senate Bill 523. We get down. What they don't do is they don't define candy. The bill is only defining, I'll read it to you. This act prohibits the sale of edible marijuana-infused products that are designed, produced, or marketed in a manner to appeal to persons under 18 years of age, including candies, gummies, lollipops, cotton candy, or products in the shape of a human, animal, or fruit. Each individually wrapped edible marijuana-infused product containing any amount of tetrahydrocannabidiol, THC, shall be stamped or the package or wrapping otherwise labeled with a diamond containing the letters THC and the number of milligrams of THC that in that individually wrapped product. Any medical marijuana license or certified entity regulated by the Department of Health and Senior Services found to have violated this act shall be subject to sanctions, including an administrative penalty. The department shall develop a process by which licensed or certified entity may seek approval of the product design, package, or label prior to manufacturer's sale to determine compliance with these provisions. Okay, let's break this down just a little bit. First, if you're going to sell a marijuana-infused product, you're going to have to put a diamond that says THC and the number of milligrams of THC in the individually wrapped product. Now, anybody can do a diamond, which is probably what the state is thinking. Anybody can do a diamond. Probably what state is thinking, something along those lines. Okay. THC, just a little diamond, THC 0.25 milligrams. And you could do that. Or you could do something more along the lines of actually make it look like a high quality diamond. Cut your facets into it. And maybe do something more like that, you know, a nice high quality diamond, a stylistic diamond. Well, you guys are weed smokers. You're the artists. You're the creatives. You know, make this a selling point, not a negative if it happens. We're going to see some pretty sharp diamonds. It says a diamond. It doesn't say it has to be an ugly warning sign like you see in the back of a fucking truck. I expect to see some artwork. You know, maybe something with some nice colors. Think Grateful Dead, a tie-dye diamond. You know, if you're going to have to do it, man, rub the state's nose in it. So now, design, produce, or marketed in a manner to appeal to persons under the age of 18. It's a little bit of a vague statement. What is designed to appeal to a person under the age of 18? Well, pretty much anything that has an intoxicating substance in it. Including, here's a thing about list. In law, when you have a list, it says including X, okay? The inclusion of one is the exclusion of all others. So by saying including candies, gummies, lollipops, cotton candy, or products in the shape of a human, animal, or fruit. So what is I can't speak. What is forbidden is candies, gummies, lollipops, cotton candy, or products in the shape of a human, animal, or fruit. So if you do your marijuana infused product and make it look like a do it in a leather, like a fruit roll-up type thing, but stamped in the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence, you know, that may not look like a human, animal, or fruit. You could just make them boxes or rectangles. That's not a human, animal, or fruit. You could be real smart asses and just stamp them out in little diamonds printed with THC 0.25 milligrams or whatever. Again, that take what the state's doing and make them regret it. Run with it and make them regret it. Will that pass? I don't know. It's possible with what we have going on in Jeff City right now. It's possible. I should hope not. I would hope that they're not going to try and make it more difficult on people, but it's very likely that it could. Now, one thing I don't want to do is run too long, so please, I know there's a few of you on the channel watching. If you have a question, ask. I mean, this is a time we can talk literally about anything. So if you have a law-related question, you know, drop it in the comments. I have had a question in comments, and maybe we'll start a different live stream for that. But I'll do that this week, perhaps, since we have 5 people watching. And what we'll do is we'll talk about police stops and how to handle the traffic ticket on the side of the road. Cop comes up to you and says, "Hey, you know why I pulled you over?" My favorite smartass response is, "Don't you?" But don't do that. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'm going to cut this off because it's 25 minutes, and I don't even want to listen to myself for 25 minutes. So thanks, appreciate it. We will talk to you again soon.